My name is Linda Abraham. I'm the president and founder of Accepted. I'm going to be presenting 3 hacks to transform your MBA application. And we're going to be spending about the next hour together. Now, a couple of just housekeeping items before we get started. We have a printout, which I think will be very helpful for you as you proceed with, in terms of taking notes and keeping on top of it. If you go to downloads, you should be able to get a copy of it. So if I were you, I recommend that you download it and print it out if possible. If not, you may want to have just either a file open on your computer or a piece of paper handy. I always like to get to know a little bit about my audience before we start. So right now, can you tell me physically, geographically rather, where are you located? City and state if you're in the United States, city and country if you're outside the United States. And we're going to use the question window for that. In the question window, please let me know where you are located. Okay, Chicago, Illinois, Gurgaon, India, Delhi, India, Boston, Lithuania, San Francisco, London, UK, Manhattan, New York, London, Philadelphia, Brazil, Hyderabad, Lagos, Nigeria, London, several people from London, Manila, Nairobi, Kenya, South Africa. Wow, we really do have a very international crowd today. Anybody from Los Angeles? I see a couple of Californians. Huntington, West Virginia. Welcome. Peru, India, Houston. Anybody from LA? Am I the only Angelino here? Los Angeles. Okay, welcome. Welcome. Wonderful. Okay, next question. And this is going to be a poll. And this, I'd like to know where you're at in the application process. Are you applying round 1, round 2, round 3, preparing for next year? And I think you can choose more than one if you can choose more than one, actually. I can see that. Okay, so, all right. We have 70% having voted. Can we get it over 80? 77% right now. Round 1 is leading. We're at 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And with 83% having voted, here are the results. 65% are applying round 1, 48% are applying round 2. Nobody intends to apply round 3, and 8% of you are preparing for next year or later. Okay, well, that's actually pretty much what I anticipated. And congratulations to those of you who are preparing for next year. I'm impressed. Okay, let's proceed. And I'd like a show of hands now. Raise your hand if you have at least one essay drafted for at least one program. Well, if you have one essay drafted, it has to be for a program. Please raise your hand and let me know. How many of you have at least one essay drafted? Okay, about 30%. All right. Okay, so this webinar assumes that you have an essay drafted. Okay, so if you aren't yet there, you presumably will be shortly. And the last thing I want to mention is that I'm going to give away several copies of the book that I co-authored, MBA Mission for Smarties, which has lots of advice, not only on MBA application strategy, but on responding to specific questions and handling different elements in the application process. It's a fairly short book, very easy to read. And anyway, we'll be giving away several copies at the end, so pay attention because we'll have a little contest and everything will be based on what is said here. So at Accepted, we review lots and lots of applications. We read great applications, we read terrible applications, and we read lots and lots in between. As a matter of fact, I was recently reviewing an essay with one of our newer consultants, and he asked me, is this essay fairly typical? It frankly was meandering and unfocused, no clear theme. And I said, well, this one is actually better than average in terms of like sentence structure, vocabulary, lack of grammatical and writing mistakes, and probably a little worse than average in terms of the lack of focus. But overall, that probably put it right in the middle. It's our job, as it will be this consultant's job, to help you send in the great ones, to turn terrible into a whole lot better to turn mediocre into great. And I'm going to tell you the secret of our review process. But before I go through the review process, which will really cover all elements of the written application, I want to focus for just a second on the essays. I'd like you to answer for me in the question window again. Why is it important? Why are the essays important? What is the purpose of the essays? Why do you have to write these things? Other than the fact that the schools tell you have to write them. Okay, Betzva says, I apologize if I mispronounce names, to differentiate ourselves. Very good. And other reasons. Gives a peek into personalities. Very good, Orvi. Shows your personality to introspect. That makes you introspect. That's true. Show your character. Good. To find goals. Essays tell our story. Good, Vivek. To see fit to show of the applicant to the school and program. That's part of it. Tell your story outside of the required documentations. Very good, Ariel. To get to know the real person behind the application. Francis, did you see that? I don't know. You seem to be reading my notes. Okay, that's show the outcome, who we are, how our goals tie to our experiences, how the MBA is its logical next step. Daniel, that's a very good response. And you're all hitting on one part of the reasons that you need to provide, that you need to write these essays, and maybe part of the second reason. Okay, let's go into what I consider the reasons behind that you have to write these essays. Let's look at the purpose of the essays, and I think there's a threefold purpose. Most of you were hitting on one, maybe two. The first reason is to provide a window into the real you, and that's the one that most of you got. The second one is add value to the other elements of your application. And again, several of you got that one. They know something about you from your job history, your resume, your transcript, your GMAT score, GRE score. But those are a very superficial and perhaps one-sided, only one element in you. The essays can reveal much more of you, the human being, the personality, the character, etc., than the stats, if you will, or even the job history. And the third element that you want your essays to do is to demonstrate your communications ability. And that's one thing that none of you mentioned, at least none of them that I saw. If somebody did and I missed it, I apologize. None of you mentioned this element as being a reason that you have to write these essays. So in order to check them, you check your applications, or to check the essays and the applications actually as a whole, you really have to check that it accomplishes all three purposes. If you just proof in the sense of checking for typos and grammatical errors, then you're really only looking at the last element. And frankly, if you fail to accomplish the first two purposes, having well-spelled words and grammatically correct sentences is not really going to do the job. So you really have to check your application on all three levels. And that's the secret to acceptance process. It's also the secret, if you're going to choose to do this on your own, is a holistic review of your application. Frankly, holistic is a big buzzword in admissions. They all say they review your application holistically. Well, it's not just a buzzword. I don't mean to say that dismissively. I mean to say that they are looking at your application holistically. And you know what? If you want to check it, so do you. So what does that mean? I'm not just talking about spelling typos and commas, although those errors need to be caught and corrected, absolutely, and we're going to get to that a little bit later on. You need to step back and make sure that your application as a whole presents you well as a competitive and compelling candidate. If you don't present yourself well, that is one of the common reasons for rejection. In my book, there are four reasons for rejection. And this is across the board. 1, you are simply not competitive. 2, you fail to present your qualifications effectively. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. 3, you can be a victim of intense competition among your particular cohort at any given school or in a particular field. And that does happen. And 4 is a combination of 2 or 3 factors. So Failing to present your qualifications effectively can definitely lead to rejection. Now, the 3 hacks that we're going to examine will make sure that you check your application such that it achieves all 3 goals, because the goal of the purpose is really the goal of the whole application. And ultimately, you want to show that you both fit in at the school you're applying to and stand out in a way that shows you're going to contribute to class discussion, to the school's community, and ultimately to the school's reputation when you graduate. So let's dive into the 3 hacks, okay? Now, another way to think of them is 3 ins, I-N, ins, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. Hack number 1 is evaluate each element in the context of the entire application. And the goal here is to show that each element is adding to the reader's knowledge of you. Think of a big jigsaw puzzle. An application is frankly very much like a big jigsaw puzzle. Each element is supposed to fit in with the other elements so that at the end we have a picture of you. The reader has a picture of you. So when you're reading an essay or a short answer question, does it introduce a dimension of you not obvious from the other boxes, from your transcript, the other essays, and your resume? Every so often, I'll read an essay, and frankly, it's just a resume in prose. And it adds nothing to the application. It fails to answer the question almost always. It adds nothing to the reader's insight. It doesn't demonstrate communications ability because almost by definition, if you're not answering the question, you're not demonstrating the communications ability. It's a complete failure. Don't do it. So for essays and short answers, if your essay does not introduce something new about you, then you really need to consider rewriting it. It's not just simply not doing its job. And then also step back and think, does the application as a whole introduce you as a real human being, an individual with real motivations and personality to the reader? You're all individuals. You're not clones. You don't want to come across in that way. So you don't have to make up individuality. You don't have to be quirky. You have to be yourselves. And you have to present yourselves in such a way where that individuality comes out. Do the different elements of the application complement each other? And remember the P and the A in PAD. Provide a window into the real you and add value to the application. That's the essence of in context, looking at each element in context. The hack number 2, assess each component individually. And what do I mean by that? And here's really where all 3 elements of PAD, provide a window into the real you, add value to your application, and demonstrate your communications ability come into play. For the essays in particular, does it answer all questions, all elements of the question posed? If not, then you probably have to add the missing element. So what do I mean by all elements of the question posed? You're frequently going to see what and why questions. For example, Stanford's, what matters most to you and why? Or Ross's, what is your desired career path and why? And they only give you up to 250 words for it. Now, almost always, especially with Stanford's, less so with Ross's, the what is less important than the why. They want to get to understand what's motivating you. So make sure that you answer the why, because some applicants tend to forget that. And don't write what you think they want to hear. I just yesterday interviewed Peter Johnson, the assistant dean for the MBA program and admissions at Haas. He was in admissions at Haas for years, and then he went to Europe for a few years, and now he's back at Haas. And we were both discussing, and I had another interview with Bruce Delmonico of Yale, same thing. The most common MBA applicant mistake is writing what you think, mistakenly, the admissions committee wants to hear. What they want to hear most is the answer to their question. Answer their question. Don't think what they want to hear. Answer their question. I also don't write superficially. I had a client years ago, and I'll never forget this. This is very apropos considering the election cycle. They, this fellow was, it was, you know, it was this year, and this guy, or it was the following year. This guy had had an internship at one of the party headquarters. I don't remember which one, the Democratic or Republican headquarters during the presidential election year. I think you know, again, it's ages ago. It must have been when Bill Clinton was running, I think, for his second term. So he wrote about it, and he wrote, I worked at the so-and-so national headquarters, and it was very challenging and interesting. And that's all he said. And I was going over his essay with him, and I said, you told me it was challenging and interesting. I could have told you that, and I wasn't even there, and I've never worked in a national party headquarters. Can you tell me something I didn't know about it? So then he went into it. He said, I hated it. I said, why? And he went into why he disliked it, and you don't want to be too terribly negative about your experiences, but we were able to present something much more profound than it was challenging and interesting, and also be positive. Again, sometimes if you're giving a superficial answer, just ask yourself why, then why, almost like a young child, and eventually you'll get to something that's a little bit, again, more profound, a little deeper than the very superficial, it was interesting and challenging, or the equivalent in your essay. Sometimes an essay with multiple parts, for example, NYU Stearns, has more than 2 parts. It can have an ABCD, it can have an ABCDE. So if we look at NYU Stearns' question, why pursue an MBA at this point in your life? The real question, there's actually 2 elements to that question. Why pursue the specific degree you're going for, and at this point in your life? What actions have you taken to determine that Stern is the best fit for your MBA experience? Well, obviously, what actions, that will be one part of the question, but I think implicit is why is it the best fit? And then the third one is, what do you see yourself doing professionally upon graduation? That's a very specific question. Obviously, it should tie to the other elements, especially the fit part, but you know, there are multiple elements here, and you have to make sure you answer all of them. Kellogg, similarly, leadership and teamwork are integral parts of the Kellogg experience. Describe a recent and meaningful time you were a leader. What challenges did you face, and what did you learn? So here you have, describe a recent and meaningful time you were a leader. They want one time. What challenges did you face? That's question 2. And what did you learn? That's question 3. But I think there's another kind of subcurrent here, and that's what's in the first sentence. Leadership and teamwork are integral parts of the Kellogg experience. So presumably, if you were a leader, you were leading a team, you know, I think you might want to comment on that part too, given that first sentence. Now, while an essay may have multiple parts, I still don't think it's very important that each essay have a central idea or theme tying those elements together. Even a question with multiple parts like these 2 should have some kind of core idea. It can be, I want to do X because of ABC. That's fine. I want to do X now because of ABCD. That's also okay. But there should be some core idea that you can, that's tying it together. Every written piece has to have a theme or thesis, a concept, a mission, if you will. And I have found that if I see an essay that completely lacks a theme, or that I don't really know the point of, then I'm going to probably encourage the applicant to rewrite it, to start over. And when we work with clients from scratch, we make sure that the essay has one central idea. And really, it can be very confusing, meandering, stream of consciousness, and almost, I've never worked with James Joyce. You need to have a central core idea or theme. Stream of consciousness, which is what James Joyce was famous for, doesn't really work in application essays. Then, of course, your essay has to be logically structured. Now, this really goes back to, again, demonstrating writing ability. And that structure can be chronological or thematic. It can be, either way can work. And sometimes if you have structural problems, those can be fairly easily fixed simply by reordering material so that it's a little more logical, or adding transitions so that the reader can follow more clearly, perhaps stating the theme up front as opposed to the close so that the reader knows where you're going. Usually these kinds of issues can be fixed. Sometimes you have to start over, but usually they can be fixed. Now let's take a look at an essay. Well, before we go to the essay, it's really important that you have examples in your essays because, and somebody mentioned this in, with my opening question, you want to be able to distinguish yourself from your competition. And examples are usually the best way, or some of the best ways to distinguish you, not the only way. And this really goes back to the provide a window into the real you and add value to your application. You can't really provide too many examples about specific events and incidents in your resume, your job history, or the boxes. But your essay allows you to go into more depth and provide those examples, which really will distinguish you. Now, let's look at the essay sample. I'm going to try and make this a little bigger, make it easier on your eyes, if I can. Whoops, no, that didn't work. Nope. All right, I can't make it bigger for you. Sorry. I'm going to start reading it. I retain information best when I have to apply that knowledge to actual situations. The type of environment that top school promotes fits the mold of my optimal learning environment. The breadth of knowledge gained from the case method will provide me with an understanding and background of many industries in addition to improving my verbal presentation skills. The daily exposure to the expertise of other MBAs will help me to improve my relative weaknesses through case study groups. I am highly optimistic about the program because of the strength and diversity of the student body. I was fortunate enough this past summer to speak candidly with a local top school alum who shared with me his experience in the program. Although he focused on a different area of management than I intend to, we shared a similar perspective on the MBA experience. It was refreshing to speak with someone who was deeply involved in the top school curriculum, who wholeheartedly endorsed the program to me based on my background and expectations of the graduate business school experience and career goals. Like him, I don't want to be pigeonholed into a narrowly focused technical management career as I am now. Although I am responsible for the productivity and salary of 100 to 150 people on large commercial construction projects, which is very fulfilling, my duties are still quite narrow in scope. I want to move into management, which may not happen on my current path. Top School will give me the breadth of knowledge that I need to be successful as a manager. The inside information I've acquired from students and alumni enhances my confidence. The program will provide me the elements that I consider essential to a successful and well-rounded MBA experience. You really don't know what this guy is looking for. And he continues with the rest of the essay the same way. You can read it if while I'm talking if you want. He's very superficial, very canned. I don't see a central idea other than I'm great and you're lucky to get me. What inside information is he talking about? What is his optimal learning environment? The essay raises as many questions as it answers. He's vague, he's general, non-specific, and frankly, rather than being pompous, very unimpressive. There's no central idea. There are no examples, and I don't really feel like I'm getting to meet somebody I'd like to know more. This guy has not, there are a couple of writing mechanical errors, but that's not what's bugging me. I think it completely fails with the provide a window into the real you, the best you, I should add. And it is not really adding much to whatever he could have put into his resume and job history and everything else there. So this is an example of how not to write. And if your essay sounds like this, then I'd suggest you call us pretty fast. But in the meantime, I want to take a quick break and ask you if you have any questions. And you can post them in the question window. Not so far? Okay. Anybody else? Hopefully it won't take as long for your questions to show up on my screen as it took at the beginning of the webinar. Excellent question, Akanksha. I apologize again about names. How does one manage to sound confident without being pompous? Okay. Well, part of the pomposity in the essay that's on the screen right now is because the guy is just so vague, and he I'm confident that top school will give me the, this kind of stuff. What top school will give me. Okay, that's part of it. But to answer your question, I think a little bit better is talk about what you've done without comparison to others in terms of results. So if you say, I'm the only one who ever did XYZ, how on earth do you know? You will definitely come across as pompous and arrogant. But if you say, I led my team to on a consulting project where we advised our clients on how to enter a new market, and the client, had, sales exploded after taking our advice, and you provide some metrics along with that. That's just telling what happened and the role you played, which is what you're supposed to be doing. You can also discuss challenges you faced and overcame. But if you say, I'm the only one who ever led a team like this, again, that's where you come across being pompous. I'm the best one to do X, Y, Z. How do you know? That comes across as arrogant and pompous. But I did X, Y, Z that had ABC results. That's just saying what you did and talking about the impact you have, which the schools are very much interested in hearing. Urvi. Ooh, you guys are having good questions. Good one from Urvi. Okay, let's see. What are examples of writing a good why school essay? How can you not be superficial? That's a very good question. Well, first of all, the why school essay, we have lots of resources on Unaccepted in terms of writing the goals essay, and we also have essay tips for most of the top schools. First of all, why school should be tied to your post-MBA goal. And you should be able to reference curricular elements, especially the ones that are not common to all MBA programs. You should be able to reference specific extracurricular opportunities that the school provides that will help you that will prepare you for your post-MBA goal, courses that will help prepare you for your post-MBA goal, perhaps elements of the culture that relate to the specific values and mission of the school. Those are very specific, and that's why the why school question, or the why this school, the why MBA, should be different really for every school that you apply to. Now, I've given webinars on Get Accepted to Harvard, Get Accepted to Columbia, Get Accepted to Stanford and Wharton, and for those schools, I actually go into that quite a bit. So I don't know. Yes, Rachel has a blog post that went up on that we just put up on Monday. She's going to chat the link out to the group in just a second. That'll help you. Okay, I'm going to take one more question, then we're going to go back to the webinar. Okay, James asks, how personal is too personal in these essays, especially regarding introspection heavy ones like Stanford? Another great question. Boy, you folks are great. All right. If you are talking to somebody who's going to be part of your professional network, so if you would not want to reveal it to a colleague, it probably is too personal. You can always also ask a consultant at Accepted, and we have former admissions directors on staff. Obviously, they're also asked about challenges overcome, and challenges overcome do present resilience, and that's a quality that schools definitely value. It's a sad truism that sometimes the worst experiences of our lives make us stronger and better people. So, there are times when one does have to bring out either failure or just tragedy. And other than what I'm being somewhat mealy-mouthed, I realize, because it's very hard to give a definition that covers all scenarios. As I'm talking, I'm thinking of things that I would say yes to, would say no to. But I would say that if you would not be comfortable sharing this aspect of your life with perhaps a trusted colleague, then I probably would not put it in. If you feel that it's important to put in and you're not sure, then I would say ask us privately, not in a webinar or online. Okay? I say consult with us. All right, we're going to take questions again at the end, but I want to proceed with the next part of the webinar. So we've done the first two ins, right? The first two hacks. One is in context, and the other one is individually as a coherent piece of writing. The third hack is in detail. And this is what most of you think of when you think about proofing your essays or your application. This is checking for writing mechanics, grammar, typos, all those kinds of things. And you know what? Those are important. There's no question. You don't want your essays to come across like my sons when they were younger, like they're my son's bedrooms, or certainly not like their bedroom closet. I believe that it's vital that you check on all three levels. Now, why do you think this level is important? I mean, let's face it. If you provide the window into the real you, if you add to your application, if you do have this jigsaw puzzle effect, why would typos matter? Why would spelling errors matter? Why would a misplaced comma matter? Betsa, you got it. It's Betsa. It shows attention to detail. Dev, exactly. Shows you are professional. Ooh, you guys are good. You got it. Because typos matter in a professional environment. Actually, you 100% right on. Okay, very good. Sloppy essays convey an impression of you as a sloppy person, not as a detail-oriented professional. Now, one or two typos won't sink your application, but at some point, and I can't give you an exact number, whether it's 3, 4, 5, it will. And they will also call into question your communications and certainly your writing ability. Yes, schools do cut non-native English speakers a little slack, but you still have to show you can communicate. So if your essays basically look like the slide, then frankly, once again, you have a fail. You really have to check for clarity, grammar, word usage, punctuation, spelling, and style. This is really part of it. But you got a problem now. And the question is how? You've written, drafted, rewritten, perhaps rewritten again, and I've told you to check it on two separate levels. How on earth can you bring a good critical eye to these essays that you're probably, should we say, tired of, maybe sick of, and maybe with a deadline looming? How can you be objective, detail-oriented, and critical at this point? Well, you need the 3 A's of a good edit. I guess today is my day for 3s. The first of the 3 A's is a break. You want to let the essay breathe like fine wine. Now, some of you may think at this point that you need the bottle of wine for a different purpose, that you're ready to, you need it to drink, but the image is really there for the idea of let it breathe like fine wine. If possible, give it a couple of days over the weekend. If you have a draft you think is good, let it sit for a couple of days, come back after the break. If you don't have 2 days, overnight. If you don't have overnight, give it a couple of hours. You don't have a couple of hours, go for a walk around the block, make yourself a cup of coffee, take a break. Again, I give it a couple of days ideally, but if you don't have that, give it whatever time you can. Give yourself a break. The second A is a printout. Do not attempt to proof from the computer screen. Print it out. I suggest you double or triple space it. And then don't sit at the same place where you work on it. Move away from your desk. If you have a desk and you normally work at your desk, go to the kitchen table. If you don't work at the kitchen table, go to your living room, go to the dining room, go somewhere else, go to a coffee shop, go somewhere else. Starbucks, whatever works. Take the physical paper with the printout and go somewhere else. And obviously go with a pen or pencil handy so you can mark places that need work. The last A is aloud. Read it slowly aloud, paying attention to punctuation, spelling, and how it sounds. Because your ear will pick up what your very tired eyes will miss. So again, what you need to do this third check, this in detail check, is a break, a printout, and then to read it aloud, the 3 A's. Now, some of you are going to ask me or be thinking, I'm almost positive, what about spell check? How many of you were thinking, what about spell check? Raise your hands if you were thinking about spell check. Anybody else? Thinking about spell check? What about spell check? Not so many. Okay, I thought I was reading your minds. In any case, spell check. Spell check is great. I love it. I use it all the time. But can you please tell me what are the mistakes in these sentences that spell check missed entirely in the question window? The sentences are, the view was striking both for the lush green forest and the deprivation I saw. That's sentence number 1. And I strove to exercise my mind through research. What are the typos in this slide? Yeah, you're right. It is missing. Okay, exercise. You're right. Right. Deprivation. Very good, Lenny. Yep, you got it. You got it. Okay. Deprivation with 2 A's is like depravity, evil, corruption. And no, I strove is okay. That's okay. And I strove to exercise. Exercise is to remove, cut out, like The Exorcist, the movie The Exorcist. And what she wanted to do was exercise her mind, or he wanted to exercise his mind. Now, this happened to be, these are both real. And I am a tea drinker, and unfortunately, when the second one came to my desk, I was drinking tea, and I saw this, and it got a little messy. Anyway, okay, let's review. And as we begin the review, yeah, there we go. There's the correct spelling on both sentences. I want to give away copies of my book, MBA Admissions for Smarties, which I co-authored with Judy Gruen. So the next 3 people to get the right answer to the following question are going to get a copy of MBA Admission for Smarties. What is the, oh yeah, before I say this, I just want to say you need to put the full answer in one response. Don't hit enter in between, okay? So the question is, what is the threefold purpose of the essays? Okay, Emerson, you got it. 2 more. PAD. Okay, what does PAD stand for? Sina got it, okay, and Ulper's got it. And I will also give it to Dev and to Casper because you did get the acronym at least, okay? So thank you. All right, so it's Emerson, Dev, Casper, Ulpers, Sina, and Mary, okay? So actually, that's more than I even wanted. Okay, well, whatever. Rachel, I'm sure you got it, okay? So we'll be getting out quite a few copies, and the answer is, as most of you got, provide a window into real you, add value to your application, demonstrate your communications ability. And there you have all 3 on the screen. Just to continue with this review, in terms of the hacks, you have evaluate the elements in context of the entire application. And here, you want to pay attention to adding value, that make sure that each element adds value, and the complementariness of each element in the application, especially the essays. Are they complementing the other parts of the application? Are they complementing each other? That's right, Rachel. And then are the essays that window into the real you? Okay, and most of you understood that. You need to have that personal element, the character element, if you will. Hack number 2, assess the components individually. And here where all elements of PAD come into play, providing that window into a real you, adding value, and demonstrating your writing ability. Do they do their job individually? Are they coherent pieces of writing that answer the question posed? Do they have a clear theme, a logical structure? And again, answer the questions in their entirety, all elements of the application. And have you made good, effective use of examples to support your theme, to add interest to your essay, and to distinguish yourself from your competition? Finally, in detail, writing mechanics. And here we're talking about the nitty-gritty detail of writing. This is all about demonstrating communication skill. Check for clarity, grammar, word usage, punctuation, spelling, and style. And if you're going to find that difficult and you don't want to use our services, then remember the 3 A's, right? A proofing, a break, a printout, and a loud. Now, we have lots of resources that can help you with your application. First of all, we have MBA essay editing, and that's on the screen. You'll also be getting these URLs at the end, so you don't have to be writing these down madly. But here we review your applications on all 3 levels, or whatever elements you send to us on all 3 levels. Are you providing a window into the real you? Are you adding value? We don't, if it's a resume in prose, trust me, we'll tell you. And then, of course, checking and correcting for type, clarity, style, word usage, and those things, those elements, the writing mechanics. Next, we have final check. This is where your application is checked by a former admissions director and looked at, or a highly experienced consultant, and looked at and said, is this ready to submit? And this is primarily looking at 1 and 2. We don't actually correct. If we think that there's something that you can do to strengthen it very quickly, we'll tell you, but it is just that, a final check. Suggestions that you can implement quickly, or if we don't think it's ready, we'll tell you that too. And it's probably a lot better for you if we tell you now than if you submit it and then just get rejected. And then the last element are freebies, or almost freebies. MBA Mission for Smarties, which is my book. You can get it either paperback or Kindle. And by the way, in terms of the prizes that we're going to be sending out, if you're in the United States, you can choose between paperback and Kindle. If you're outside the United States, it's Kindle. Okay. But you can, and if you didn't win, you can just buy it, as I said, at Amazon. And then we have also lots of free resources, and we'll be sending out these URLs, exhibit.com/MBA/essay, articles, podcasts, videos, tips, sample essays, how to use the sample essays. And if you stick around, I will have, this is such a flash sale, I didn't even know about it. I'm going to be getting a coupon code special for people who are here today in just a minute. So don't leave yet. I'll also be taking your questions. All right. And we'll be sending out an email with these resources, these links, after the webinar. But in the meantime, let me go back to your questions. And as soon as I get the coupon code, I'll let you know what it is. I'll also let you know what the offer is, but I think it's a good one. Okay, let's go back to some of these questions that you had. You folks are really asking good questions. Okay, how do we add, this is from Densa, how do we add specific examples without repeating bullet points of our resume? Well, you can go into a lot more depth. Your resume is not going to discuss some of the challenges you faced in achieving what you achieved. It just can't go into that kind of depth. So you're going to want to, you're not just going to want to repeat the bullet point. You're going to want to provide more information, perhaps about interpersonal challenges that you faced, logistical challenges that you faced, how you overcame them. What about team dynamics? How did you lead? If you say, I led a team, what did you do? Did you establish the vision? Did you establish the schedule? Did you have budgetary responsibility? You're going to be able to go into more depth, and that's going to be the difference between your use of an example in an essay and your bullet point. Now, you may not have room to go into all challenges, but you're going to focus on one in particular. Let's see what else you got coming up here. Oh, this is a really good question. Again, I'm getting fantastic questions. Okay, Ariel, do MBA schools consider small, no, that wasn't the one. What is the best way to articulate a post-MBA career shift without, one, discounting the previous career, and two, seeming indecisive, unclear on your aspirations? Well, first of all, you have to have clear aspirations, and you have to present yourself as going to something as opposed to just going away from something that you didn't like. So if you have a clear goal, obviously that's clearer. That's much more effective. If your goals are vague, I would strongly encourage you to clarify them before you apply, not just because it'll enhance your chances of acceptance, because your goals should be guiding you in school choice. You may want to look at some of the webinar I did last spring. I think it's 5 ways to make B schools love you. And Rachel, I think, can find it and chat the URL out. But I discussed that there. Most MBA students are career changers on some level. Yes, there are some, they're from consulting, they're going back to consulting, I know, but the overwhelming majority want to do something different. Otherwise, they wouldn't be pursuing the degree. So being a career changer is not a problem. You need to be a realistic career changer. So you have to know something about what you want to do in the future. You have to know how your past career has, or your past work experience has some elements that are relevant to the future. How, when you add the MBA program that you're applying to, that education to your past education and your past experience, you need to be able to make a logical case that that preparation is a good preparation for what you want to do in the future. I would focus on what you've learned in your past work, not what you dislike about your past work. I hope that answered that question. Okay. Let's see. Betzva. How would you incorporate experience in essays such as Wharton's, which is what do you hope to gain professionally from the Wharton MBA? Well, some of that will depend on what you've done and what you want to do in the future. A good place to start is what you liked at your previous work and perhaps highlight a particular achievement at your previous work and discuss how it showed you what you really, really like, how your future goal is going to get you more of it, and how what elements of the Wharton MBA are going to prepare you for that goal. I realize the question is short, so you have to be really pretty tight. I don't remember off the hand if it was 400 or 500 words, but I know it's something like that. So that answer your question, Betsa? Does it give you some idea? And again, thank you for your question. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, hold on. Okay. I will announce. Okay, we got the coupon code before I go to the next question. It is Flash, F-L-A-S-H. It expires tonight at midnight Pacific time, and it gives you $100 off any non-rush MBA order. So just if you want us to edit your essays, whether it's 1 hour, this is a great way to try us out, by the way. It's basically, it's almost a third off our 1 hour order. You can buy 1 hour and then upgrade to 5 or 10 hour, or you can buy an application package if you're thinking of your round 2 applications, whatever you want. Again, the coupon is just FLASH. It expires tonight, and it gives you $100 off any non-rush MBA order. Our prices have gone up slightly, so they're now $305 instead of $300, but you can definitely use this coupon, FLASH, $100 off any non-rush order by tonight Pacific time. Okay, so that's the coupon. It's, again, I was so I didn't even know about it at the beginning of the hour, but okay, this is what my staff does for me. What you're not entirely sure you want your post-MBA career to be. I'm applying to school because I want to change careers. How specific do you need to be when you're answering the post-MBA short-term and long-term question? Again, excellent question. Excellent question. Thank you, Lizzie. You need to know the industry in which you want to work and the function that you want to perform. That's the really quick answer for you. If you can't be that specific, you don't. Sometimes geography plays a role, sometimes not, and that's not necessary, but you need to know the industry in which you want to work and the function you want to perform. Those are really, really important. They're important. They should be important and with a certain degree of clarity in terms of helping you choose schools. And then the schools want to know that they can help you achieve your goals. So if you don't have fuzzy goals, if you don't have clear goals, if you have fuzzy goals, they can't know that they can help you achieve your goal. They also usually want to know your goal because when you get to school, within a couple of months of getting to school, internship interviews start. And if you're trying to figure out what it is you want to do, you're behind the 8 ball. So you don't want to, for your sake and from an admissions perspective, you really should have that part clarified before you apply. Okay. Okay, Keller asks, another very interesting question. How do you suggest couching experiences that likely are not familiar to the admissions committees, such as military experience? How do you balance highlighting unique experiences in a way that is accessible? Again, excellent question. That you're going to be focusing on impact and leadership. And whether you are coming from the military, which definitely is a distinctive background from traditional business school, or you are coming from a highly technical background, or you are perhaps in the nonprofit world, there are still going to be, you need to focus on leadership and impact and not on the technical areas of your work. Now, the military is a little bit different. We actually have somebody on staff who grew up in a military family. I think he's, much better equipped than I am probably to answer that question. But from experience working with many, many military clients over the years, that would be my suggestion. We don't currently have somebody with military experience, but we did in the past. And that was always the point. You're going to focus on either your leadership experience, your logistical experience, the elements of your work that are going to be most relevant to business. And this is true whether you're coming from the military, you're coming from highly technical backgrounds, or, again, the nonprofit arena. Okay, we also have a question here, Olpers, can you recommend a good career consultant? Yes, we actually have on staff Karen Ash. Karen Ash is the former director of career services at Cornell Johnson, also at Cornell University for several years, at Cornell Johnson for another stint, and she also worked with the engineering school at a certain point in time. So I would recommend Karen Ash on our staff. Can you, Rachel, can you send out in a chat her bio? Let's see what else we have here. Thank you for that question. Next. How does one manage to stand confident? Well, I already did that one. Thanks very much for your webinar. I listened to your interview with June Kinney. It was thank you. You're very welcome, Betsy. I'm glad you liked it. Okay, that wasn't really a question, but thank you. I appreciate the feedback. And here we go from Rachit. Do B schools consider small business work experience comparable to work experience in international companies? The short answer is yes, but it depends what you did. It depends on the impact you had. It depends on your level of responsibility. I think small business work experience can be very, very much valued. But, there are lots of different small businesses. I mean, if you were pumping gas at a gas station, no, it's not going to be highly valued. That is a small business. It is work. If you were managing, distribution for several gas stations, that might be very highly valued. Small business in and of itself isn't positive or negative. It's what you did. It's the level of responsibility you achieved. And I might add that's the same for large international companies too. You can be a janitor at a large international company. That experience is not going to be valued by business schools. But if you had growth in your managerial work experience or an MBA competitive work experience on the job at a large international company, of course it's going to be valued. Let's see what else we have here. We're getting towards the end. Okay. Hold on a second. My window just bounced. Okay. Lenny asks, can I start the essay with my long-term goal and go on to how a short-term goal will lead me to a long-term goal? Well, that is at least somewhat dependent on the question posed. Certainly if the question asks about long-term goal, that's a perfectly acceptable response. If the question is only asking about the immediate post-MBA goal, then I'm not sure that's the best start. So it would depend on the question. Let's see. Lizzie writes, I need to use the optional essay to explain a lower GRE and lesser quant skills, my background in entertainment and PR. What's a good way to explain something like this without sounding like I'm making an excuse for a low score? That's a good question. It's also a difficult question. The best way to do that is to present evidence that contradicts the GRE. So if you take some quant courses and you get A's in them, if you take statistics for business, if you take accounting, if you take calculus 1, if you have the prerequisites, and you do well in them, then suddenly you take mathematics for business and you get A's in them. Then suddenly, which is really the reflection of you, the GRE that you took last year or the recent A's? Maybe you really can do the math. But if you apply without any evidence that you can handle the quantitative parts of the application, and you just provide the quote-unquote explanation that you have a background in entertainment and PR, which essentially means I don't have quant skills, I don't think you're going to be achieving your goal. Okay, but thanks for the question. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, from Henry. Linda, can you please talk more on how an applicant can approach the Why Stanford essay? Well, why Stanford? Thank you. In terms of why Stanford, again, it's very much like any why this school question. You're going to want to tie the specific elements of Stanford's program and approach to graduate management education to your goals and how it's going to help you achieve your goals, both your goals for while you're in the MBA program and specifically your post-MBA goals. So I would recommend that you look at the webinar I did where I actually went into that, or our Stanford tip post. Rachel, can you post those links for Henry? And that I went into it there. But, Stanford has a highly customizable curriculum. How are you going to take advantage of that in showing, why you want to attend Stanford? It obviously has very strong ties to the whole Silicon Valley entrepreneurial ecosystem. How are you going to take advantage of that in your career, whether you want to start up a company or not? You can want just to imbibe that kind of approach to problem solving, to business, and then take it to perhaps more established companies. So that's one of the unique features of Stanford. Okay, and Rachel just posted the link to the webinar that I did where I went into much more depth on that question. And we also have our Stanford tips post. I think she's going to post that in just a second too. Okay, let's see. I'll take one more question. We are running over a little bit. Okay. see, Abhinav asks, do courses from MOOCs like Coursera and edX carry any significance? That's a good question also. You guys have really been coming up with fantastic questions. It does carry some significance. Question is how much and for what purpose. So for example, let's say you had a low undergraduate GPA and you are taking some courses to show that that was then, this is you now, and you really do know how to apply yourself in an academic environment. And let's assume for the moment that you're in the United States. We have access to community colleges, extension courses, a variety of options. And you work in the kind of job where you could attend a class at night. Then you would be better off, because your purpose is to show that you know how to perform in an academic setting, taking a traditional graded course and getting an A in it. If, on the other hand, you work in consulting where you travel a lot, or you have the kind of job where you really can't commit to be in a specific place at a specific time on a regular basis, then it might just be that the MOOCs are the best thing for you because you don't have the alternative of the traditional graded class, and this will at least show that you're working on your skills and applying yourself, that you're a little bit intellectually curious and that kind of thing. If you were, for example, the questioner a minute ago, I don't remember her name, I think it was Lizzie, who was concerned about lack of quant skills because she comes from an entertainment and PR background. Well, if she were, again, I would say the ideal would be to take traditional courses, but if her job doesn't allow for that, or if she's traveling, or if she's abroad and doesn't have access to these kinds of opportunities, then by all means take Coursera and edX just to show that she's working on those skills and improving those skills. All right. And with that, I think okay. And with that, I think we're over time. You've been a fantastic audience. I want to thank you for coming. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your participation. Do look out for the email that we're going to be sending them out shortly. And of course, remember the flash coupon code, save $100 by midnight Pacific time tonight. You know, and again, you can use that on any of our non-rush services. FLASH is a flash coupon code. And so look, you know, and I don't think that will not be in any of the emails you're getting it, so do write it down now. Do look out for the email because you'll be getting resources from that. And for the winners of the book, that should be coming shortly. You're very welcome. I'm getting some thank yous here. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Francis. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Okay, good luck with your applications. Thank you very much for coming. I've really enjoyed this, and I hope you'll take advantage of that coupon. Take care.